No, I mean, it's just...
I'm scared already. I'm scared already because of Iran. That's so crazy. Like, that is such a crazy thing to try to get away with.
The first time I did it, like 10 years ago, the sort of press, particularly the industry press in America, was like, why is he saying these awful things to the most beautiful people? And then by the 5th time, right, they were going, good, give it to him, we're sick of celebrities. And not only are we not furious, most of us, we don't care, we wouldn't have even known about it if you hadn't have found it and printed it and told us we're furious. So it's just this vicious cycle. But no, I don't care. And likewise, I know people are allowed to be offended by things I've said. That's up to them. That's the good thing about freedom of speech. I can say what I want. You can say you're offended. I can care or not.
While millions were watching the Golden Globe Awards, 2020 something else was unfolding at the same time. A conversation that would make people question what really happened that night. And when Ricky Gervais stepped onto that stage, most assumed it was just comedy, but looking back at the names he seemed to hint at and what followed afterward, it begins to feel like that moment meant something more.
That's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife cancer, and it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
Now, to understand why this moment landed the way it did, you have to look at what Hollywood was going through at the time. The industry was facing a shift it had never seen before, as the #MeToo movement began exposing long-hidden issues, bringing figures like Harvey Weinstein into the spotlight and raising serious questions about the systems that had protected powerful individuals for years. And as journalists like Ronan Farrow started uncovering more details, it became clear to many observers that these problems weren't isolated, but part of a much deeper and more widespread pattern within the industry.
I can't tell you that I had a crystal ball.
The fallout spreading from Hollywood to corporate America, the media, and Capitol Hill.
And knew that there would be this incredible flood of people in industry after industry, women and men coming forward with difficult claims.
By the time Ricky Gervais stepped onto that stage in January 2020, Jeffrey Epstein had already been gone for several months after his death in a jail cell in August 2019. But what made the situation more complex was his well-known connections to powerful individuals, along with his earlier 2008 case where he served a short sentence with unusual privileges before being released. And when he was arrested again in 2019 on federal charges, many expected further details to emerge. Yet his sudden death meant those expectations were never fully realized. And although investigators had gathered large amounts of material, such as court records, FBI files, flight logs, emails, and contact lists, much of it remained sealed, with significant portions either redacted or not publicly available, leaving many questions unresolved.
Of justice has released so far, and the manner in which it did so makes one thing clear: someone or something is being protected.
So when people say a certain celebrity's name doesn't appear in the Epstein files, it could simply mean that not everything has been made public yet, and in situations like this, the absence of information doesn't always provide a complete picture. Sometimes what isn't visible raises just as many questions as what is, and within that context, the silence itself can be seen by some as a form of protection around powerful figures potentially connected to those documents, especially considering that many of the individuals present at the Golden Globe Awards were not just ordinary attendees, but people aware of the broader situation and the existence of materials that had yet to be fully revealed.
Perverts. It was a big year. It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care.
In one of his most talked about monologues, Ricky Gervais didn't come out swinging right away. He started with lighter, familiar humor, poking fun at films, award shows, and the industry's sense of self-importance, even joking about the length of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and making a sharp remark that by the time the premiere ended, Leonardo DiCaprio's date would already be too old for him.
It wasn't the only epic movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, nearly 3 hours long. Leonardo DiCaprio attended the premiere, and by the end, his date was too old for him. So...
Now that joke might come across as harmless on the surface, but he quickly followed it with a more pointed remark referencing Prince Andrew, shifting the tone from light humor to something noticeably sharper.
And Prince Andrew's like, come on, Leo, mate, you know, You're nearly 50, son.
By January 2020, Prince Andrew had already faced intense public scrutiny in connection with the Epstein controversy and had stepped back from official duties, with the royal family distancing itself from the situation. So when Ricky Gervais referenced him alongside Leonardo DiCaprio's dating habits, it didn't feel like just another Hollywood joke, but rather a sharper, more deliberate line that many viewers interpreted as highlighting specific figures in a way that made the room noticeably more tense.
Just for the record, you've been on his private plane.
Yes.
You've been to stay on his private island.
Yes.
You've stayed at his home in Palm Beach.
Yes.
The joke about Felicity Huffman was another layer to the moment. She had recently served time for her role in the college admission scandal, and when Ricky Gervais joked about her making license plates in prison, he was directly referencing the real consequences she faced, blending humor with a pointed reminder of recent events.
I came here in a limo tonight, and the license plate was made by Felicity Huffman.
Each joke served as a stepping stone. Gervais would deliver what many saw as the most striking line of the night.
That's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife had cancer, and it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
Now, this is where things become especially interesting, because the internet has a way of spotting patterns and connecting details almost instantly, and one moment that quickly drew attention was the reaction of Tom Hanks, as when Ricky Gervais referenced Epstein, some viewers noticed a visible shift in his expression, with widened eyes and a more tense, uncomfortable look that stood out compared to the usual reactions in the room. And this wasn't seen as just a polite or awkward response, but something more genuine to many watching. Part of why this moment resonated so strongly is that Hanks has long been viewed as one of Hollywood's most relatable and trusted figures, known for roles like Forrest Gump and others that reinforced that image. So when his reaction appeared noticeably different, it led some viewers to interpret it as more than just a passing moment, almost like a small crack in the carefully maintained perception of Hollywood as a consistently wholesome and trustworthy industry.
Unfortunately for Tom Hanks and the elite circle shielding him, the latest DOJ Epstein drop just blew his cover wide open. Hollywood publicist Peggy Siegel, a longtime close friend of Jeffrey Epstein, front and center of these explosive files, was caught on record specifically mentioning Hanks. In her own words to Epstein, she casually refers to Hanks being on that infamous island, and asks Epstein to pass on a personal message.
Within hours of that Golden Globes broadcast, online discussions began surfacing around an alleged 2013 email said to involve communication with Jeffrey Epstein, in which Tom Hanks' name was reportedly mentioned, though the details remained unclear and widely debated. And while nothing was definitively confirmed, the claim alone was enough to fuel widespread speculation. Around the same time, attention grew as Hanks quietly stepped back from certain public appearances, including meet and greets and Q&A sessions, which stood out given his usually open and approachable public presence. And although his team pointed to unrelated reasons such as reactions to political commentary and broader public discourse, the timing led many online to question whether there was more behind it, highlighting how in today's environment, even silence can quickly become a subject of interpretation, despite the absence of verified evidence supporting those conclusions.
Notice Tom Hanks has been very silent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, I don't blame him, it's, we do. I also think that presidents are a reflection of who we are as a people and what our culture has become.
Now, turning to Leonardo DiCaprio, it's worth noting that Ricky Gervais has been joking about him for years. Initially, many saw it as part of a long-running gag about DiCaprio's dating patterns, something that often sparks reactions online whenever he appears with a younger partner. But over time, some viewers began to interpret the repeated references differently, especially as wider conversations around the Epstein case continued and more documents were being discussed publicly. In that environment, certain online communities communities started looking more closely at DiCaprio's associations with various unverified claims circulating that his name appeared in communications linked to Jeffrey Epstein, including mentions tied to figures like Peter Mandelson, though the details of these claims remain debated and unclear, and despite the attention they received, no confirmed evidence has established wrongdoing, highlighting how quickly speculation can build when high-profile names are involved. Woody Allen has faced his own controversies over the years, and when claims surface suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein may have attempted to arrange meetings between high-profile individuals, it naturally raises questions, many of which remain unanswered. At the same time, Leonardo DiCaprio has denied any involvement, with his team stating that he never visited Epstein's island and had no personal relationship with him. Yet for some observers, the continued redactions and the fact that not all related documents have been fully released leave room for ongoing discussion, as people wonder whether undisclosed details might exist in portions of the records that are not yet public. Although it's important to emphasize that these remain unverified claims and no confirmed evidence has established any wrongdoing.
The more I learn about Jeffrey Epstein, the more clear it is that there are connections between the elites, the famous, and the people who are politically in charge.
While Leonardo DiCaprio's team has continued to distance him from the controversy, another prominent figure who came under increased public attention is Oprah Winfrey, whom Ricky Gervais appeared to reference subtly during his monologue. As one of the most influential figures in global media, Oprah has shaped conversations and culture for decades. So as broader discussions around the Epstein case expanded, some online communities began raising questions about various high-profile associations, including hers, with these conversations spreading quickly across social media, though it's important to note that such claims remain largely unverified and no confirmed evidence has established any wrongdoing, reflecting how public curiosity and speculation can grow around well-known figures, even in the absence of proven facts.
Oprah has spoken out in regards to the Epstein files. Check this out.
And so to hear people say things that are just crazy, like I'm a part of a cabal and there's a whole conspiracy with children, that stuff makes me sad. It makes me sad more than anything that people would believe it. And, you know, it's taken me a long time to get to the point that I'm not I don't feel hurt by it. I don't feel personally hurt by it. But now I know we live in a world where it's going to be magnified.
Well, Oprah, this child conspiracy has proven to be true thanks to the Epstein files. And your name is mentioned over 100 times in those files.
Long before the Epstein case became widely discussed, Oprah Winfrey had been linked to a separate controversy involving John of God, who at the time was presented as a spiritual figure capable of healing and was featured on her platform, gaining global attention and credibility through that exposure. However, years later, he was convicted of serious crimes and sentenced to a lengthy prison term, prompting many to revisit those earlier endorsements with concern. And around the same period, additional claims surfaced in media discussions, including allegations involving Harvey Weinstein and references to figures like Naomi Campbell, though these claims remain widely debated and in many cases unproven, illustrating how complex and controversial these overlapping narratives have become.
Naomi, Rita, and Georgina, they all sat at his table, and for me, meeting Oprah was like, oh my God, like I would have thought that I would have to be someone who's established, who everyone would have had to know about before I was privileged enough to meet someone like Oprah. So that gave me so much confidence in him at the time when he approached me. I thought, obviously this man has something amazing in store for me.
According to some recent discussions, there have been claims about documents linked to the Epstein investigation containing disturbing allegations, including statements attributed to individuals who said they were offered money under troubling circumstances, and in some interpretations of these reports, certain names, such as Harvey Weinstein and Oprah Winfrey, have been mentioned in overlapping contexts, though much of this information remains unclear, heavily debated, or taken out of context, with no verified evidence evidence confirming direct wrongdoing in those specific connections. During this period, Oprah has remained relatively quiet publicly regarding these circulating claims. And for someone historically vocal on major issues, that silence has been interpreted in different ways, some viewing it as strategic restraint, others as something more, even though silence alone does not confirm anything. Similarly, Jay-Z has also been referenced in broader online speculation, including discussions around social media trends and past reports linked to the Epstein case, but many of these claims stem from unverified accounts and fragmented narratives that lack confirmed evidence, reinforcing the need to approach such discussions with caution rather than treating them as established facts.
DeGeneres has reportedly fled the United States for England. She's running from her HR department. A source close to Ellen and her wife, Portia de Rossi, told The Wrap that the couple has placed their Montecito home on the market and have decided to relocate to the Cotswolds in England.
This didn't start on that stage. Ricky Gervais had been building toward that moment for years. Each time he hosted, the jokes felt sharper, less about humor, more about exposing the industry's image versus reality. Then came the names Prince Andrew, Tom Hanks, Leonardo DiCaprio, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. Not random, all highly influential figures. That's what made it hit harder and spark attention beyond the room. Since then, some have reduced appearances or shifted direction, which fueled online speculation, but there's no confirmed link between these changes. What exists is a mix of real events and interpretation, and the line between them is often blurred.
I didn't go out there and break the law. It wasn't mental. Everything was justified. I researched those jokes. I made sure it was fair. I wouldn't say anything to go, well, that's not fair. He didn't do that. I'd go, only tell the truth. I didn't out anyone. I didn't do anything it was not in public. I didn't do anything that was something they couldn't help. It was about their behaviors.
Yeah. After the monologue aired, backlash came quickly. Several outlets argued Ricky Gervais had crossed the line. He didn't walk it back. He leaned in, same blunt tone, no apology. What caught attention wasn't just the jokes, but what they pointed at. For years, critics have questioned the gap between Hollywood's public messaging, values, justice, activism, and the private circles where influence operates differently. Award shows amplify statements, but they also highlight hierarchy and exclusivity. That's why the moment stuck. For many viewers, it felt less like comedy and more like commentary, a reflection of how image, power, and accountability don't always align in high-profile industries.
I'm not going to stop saying things in case someone somewhere is offended, because they will be. There's nothing you can say that someone somewhere won't find offensive.
So was Ricky Gervais hinting at something specific when he made those jokes, or just doing what he's always done, pushing boundaries further than anyone else? And if those files ever fully come out, what then? Will it expose something bigger involving powerful figures, or fall short of what people expect? Drop your thoughts below, and subscribe for more videos like this.